There's no basketball on ABC now.
Are you familiar? You're familiar with George Carlin, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you remember? You remember any of his appearances on Bill Maher? Because he's had a couple of them. But this was when he was on the round table, not when he was just being interviewed. He was on the round table, and he said that he's like, the politicians and the election are put there to give you the illusion that you have choice. You don't have a choice. That the Senate has long been paid for by big business, and that they just put on the election every few years as theater, but really nothing changes. I never thought that George Carlin was particularly funny, but I always thought he was really intelligent. And like his stand-up comedy was less about to me at least, his stand-up comedy was less about laughing and it being funny wow. His stand-up comedy was less about him making jokes and being funny, and it was more about him being insightful and letting people know what was up. And it makes perfect sense. So, I feel like, okay, Bernie wants to change some stuff, right?
He needs Congress and the Senate to do so.
Yeah,
what he can do is appoint justices to the Supreme Court.
I think... No, you're saying, go ahead.
What he can do is appoint justices to the Supreme Court, because supposedly there were, or at least a couple, that might be due to step down for the next president. And it might change the balance.
You know what I think needs to happen before anything actually quote-unquote changes? I really think we need to there are certain fields that we need to teach in school. How economics works, how politics works is definitely important. You should teach reading, and you should teach reading comprehension and writing skills, arithmetic, social studies, so people know how to interact with each other and things like that. You should teach that stuff in schools. The reason why they don't teach it is because if you teach critical thinking to people, then people would realize how badly they're getting screwed over. If a person isn't capable of critical thinking, you could get them to do whatever you want and get them to believe whatever you want. So that's why we never put any emphasis in education. Actually, George Carlin said it best. He was like, don't even bother with education. It's never going to get any better. Just like it for what it is now, because they don't want people to sit around and realize how badly they're getting fucked. They want people to be obedient workers. That's why when you go to college is more about learning how to work for someone than actually thinking. The people who don't go to college, a lot of times they end up being successful is because they figured out the right way of thinking. Now, there's certain fields you need certification in and blah, 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 but the people who build stuff like from the ground up and build stuff for themselves are people who are capable of critical thinking and know how to maneuver, know how to make things work for them. Some people just want to work for other people. That's perfectly fine because there are needed jobs, but a lot of the jobs that I feel like a lot of people that most help is needed in, like education, we treat education like shit. We treat teachers like shit. If you're an educator in this country, there is no way in hell you should ever be on welfare or in need of welfare. I'm telling you right now, police officers, doctors, nurses, sanitation workers, educators, important fields, postal workers, those people should never be looked at as expendable. Firefighters, EMTs. There's no reason why EMT should be making $15 an hour. They should be making more than that. But then again, it's not... It's on us a lot of the time because we give our money to stupid shit. Like, we make athletes rich. We make actors rich. But we don't want to invest money into people that are educating our children, educating us, protecting us. We don't want to put money into that. We want to put money into stupid shit. Bill Maher said it best. Bill Maher was like, I got lucky because I can make a lot of money telling jokes. But a person who's a school teacher is not going to be able to go, because he's talking about how like a lot of the 1% were saying "see you soon." That was their campaign bullshit from a few years ago. See you soon.
I remember that bullshit.
And he was like, a person who's teaching second grade isn't going to see you soon. I just got lucky because telling jokes pays a lot of money. But the average person who's a high school teacher, elementary school teacher, they're not going to see you soon. So, I feel like it's never going to change, but I feel like if I don't do something, then I'm part of the problem. So that's why I vote, but I always, it's like playing a lottery. I do it, but I don't think I'm actually going to, like, hit the jackpot.
Yeah.
Although if I did, see, the wrong people, the lottery is such a weird thing. The wrong people always win that shit. Like, if I won that, I wouldn't touch a cent. I basically cut all my friends a check. I'd reopen up Stompin' Sounds in Montclair and I'd live above it. And the money that I would make from just reopening that place, because people didn't want to see that. The only reason that place closed down was because Bobby decided that he wanted to get the fuck out of the country. He went and he has a coffee plantation in Costa Rica. The amount of money he makes, he made the best coffee. Oh my god! And have you ever taken a piss in the bathroom in Stompin' Sounds?
No.
Or used the bath? It is the most beautiful bathroom I've ever been in my life. First of all, no. First of all, the tiles, right, were all black, and they were heated. The toilet was black. The handles were gold. Everything in that bathroom was black and gold. It was beautiful. Everything was just immaculate. The mirror was like I was looking at an HD version of myself in the mirror. It was ridiculous. I remember one time I was in that bathroom. I was in there for like 20 minutes just standing around like, wow, this is a really nice fucking bathroom. And when they were closing up, Sam was like, I was trying to get a bunch of people to like, pool our money together and open, keep it open because it made a lot of money. And there's still a need for that boutique there, but it's not there. I would make so much money off of that I wouldn't need to touch the money that I had. Because I think what happens with a lot of these people that fucking win the lottery, they go and buy a bunch of stupid shit. Like, I was talking to people, this guy's like, yeah. I'd buy 30 cars, a car for each day. Why do you need 30 cars? You know I would get if I won the lottery? Right? I would go to Subway, right? I'd order a sandwich and I'd ask them to put more meat on it. They'll be like, we're not supposed to. Be like, dude, come on, look here, I got a little extra money. Just keep putting it on until I say it's okay. Or I'd be like, hey, but how about I pay for 3 sandwiches and you put 3 sandwiches worth of meat and cheese onto one sandwich? That's what I would do, just out of fucking curiosity. I would help reopen Gamer's Gambit, but I don't know if that's a good idea. But I really wouldn't touch that money. I wouldn't be buying stupid shit. Like I don't buy designer clothes as it is. I think label whores are the worst people in the world. They offer nothing to the world, and then they're just these people that run around buying labels for the sake of labels, and they don't realize that the shit that they're buying costs like $3 to make, so it's cheap regardless. You're paying for a label. You're paying for the tag in it. You're not paying for quality. I wouldn't spend it on anything ridiculous. The most pricey thing or like needless thing I probably would get. I would get the copy of the Never-Ending Story, the edition that looked like the actual leather-bound book with the fucking Orin on it that goes for like $200 and something. I would buy that, and I probably wouldn't even read it because I've read the book like 4 times already. I wouldn't do stupid shit with money. The problem is with most people, the minute they get money, they want to spend it. When they get a lot of money. And that's how they run out of. That's how they're broke like a few years later. Also, some of that money you get, right? You got to invest it in things.
Yeah.
Assets, all that stuff. Like,
I think theoretically, if you put enough of it into a mutual fund, you could live off the annual dividends for the rest of your life.
I mean, we're talking like $1 billion. Well, actually, apparently, the New Jersey sales tax, or the tax they take out something like 47% or something like that.
Like 33, I think.
No, actually, it's 47. I was talking to someone about it today that was, because my one friend, her husband's an accountant, and he was like, yeah, well, you know, New York and New Jersey would probably have to pay the most out of taxes, because other places, like the state tax isn't as much. New Jersey, it's like 40-something%. And I think New York is like a percentage or two under us or above us. I don't remember. And then apparently the lottery fund takes out like 30%, or they get a chunk of it too. So basically, they find a way to like chop into that money. So when people are chopping into that money like that, why would the first thing you do is go and buy something? First of all, don't go live someplace. Live someplace moderate. Don't live someplace where you can't afford to live there. But don't live around people that are going to rob you. Like, if I won the lottery, right? Actually, I would still live here. But I would buy a bunch of guns. And I would wait for people to come fuck with me. That's what I would do. Actually, you know what I would do? This is what I would do. If I won the lottery, I'd buy a tree. Not like... I'd pay for someone to take a tree, uproot it from someplace, and put it in my backyard. Right? Then I go buy a bow and arrow. Then I go climb in the tree, and I'd wait for people to come fuck with me. And I would shoot them in the kneecaps with arrows. Below the waist, it's not manslaughter. I would wait for people to come fuck with me. And because most of the people that are probably who would come and fuck with me would be other black people, I wouldn't go to jail for it. I would wait for someone to come and fuck me. I couldn't wait for someone to come rob me if I won the lottery. I'd be like, yeah, come and rob me. And you know what else I would do? I would walk with a bomb strapped to me, like, at all times. So if people want to mug me in the street, I'd open up my fucking coat like the Joker in The Dark Knight and be like, okay, you can try and mug me, but I'm going to blow you all up in the process. I think like the biggest expenditure I would have is that I would like, if I won $1 billion, let's say I ended up getting like less than half of that, right? That'd be like what, like 400 and something $million, something like that. The most money I would probably spend would be, I'd write you a check for $5 million. I'd write Manny a check for $5 million. Like, all my friends, I'd write, because we did what? We did Abernathy for, well, actually, we did it for like 5 years, roughly. Everyone gets $5 million. And then I would start a business and have every one of you work for me. And that's the biggest expenditure that I would do. That's the biggest expenditure I would have. Like I said, I would open up Stompin' Sounds, and I would just pay you guys a ridiculous amount of money. Or I would buy an apartment building. That's a good investment. I'll buy an apartment building. And then I'd be like, and I'd make you guys my supers, and all of you. I'd buy an apartment building in Montclair, Bloomfield Ave, because those apartments are really nice. They're big and spacious. I would buy that building, and I would make every single one of you a super. You guys would each have your own free apartment. Ba-dow. See, because here's the thing, right? I know you guys aren't stupid. See, that's the problem with a lot of these people that get money. They grew up when their quote unquote crew of people they hang out with are idiots. So they give money to idiots that don't know how to do anything with money. Sam is really great with money. She managed to pay off all of her student loans by working, setting aside money, and just being really, really good with money. You know, none of you guys are bad with money. I would basically like give you guys money. That would be the biggest expenditure. All my friends get $5 million. Everyone else, fuck them. Most people I know, right? Like, most people in my family don't need money. They're doing okay. They don't need money. I would say this: I'd have a barbecue and I'd pay for everything, and people could come by and eat. But everyone's doing okay. I wouldn't give people money. If anything, if there are people in my family that need jobs, I would probably give. Like, if I like them. If it's someone I don't like, then whatever. I'd like have them work for me. I give them a job. But I'm not gonna be one of those dumbass black dudes to be like, "Oh, I came up out of nowhere. We got here together, even though I did all the work and shit, and I got this money now. So then first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna buy my mom a house." I'm like, my mom already has a house. I don't need to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I buy my dad a Rolls Royce. My dad is in a retirement home. Like, well, what would he do with a fucking Rolls Royce except show it off to people? Like, I wouldn't do stupid shit like that. Oh, my parents are like up there in age. What would they need with fancy things? All these people are dumb. I researched it because you told. Remember on Friday or Saturday you told me that a lot of those people go insane and they end up being broke and they do stupid stuff with money. I went and I researched a lot of people that won big and all that other stuff. Those people were dumb. They did a lot of dumb, asinine shit. You know what I would do? I would get a PhD, right? I would get a PhD, and I would just live off of that money. And then I would dip into the big money if I want to go on vacation someplace. But when you have money, like, I don't even want to go anywhere. I'd go to Japan, but for reasons. I don't, it's like, you know, I don't really need to go anywhere. I'd go to Dublin so I could take a picture in front of the Phil Lynott statue. I'd do that. The cuisine isn't great over there though, so it's like, why would I want to eat that shit? You know what I would do though? I'd go to Whole Foods. I'd go to Whole Foods and I'd leave Whole Foods with like a $5,000 bill. I gotta buy $5,000 worth of groceries from Whole Foods. And just eat clean, and I'd get an elliptical machine, and that's pretty much it. I mean, I know what you would do when you first got that money. I know what you would do. Okay, this is how well I know you. You get that money in hand, right? I know what the first thing you're gonna do is. Oh, are you waiting for me to say what it is?
Yeah.
You're going to buy a plane ticket to Las Vegas. You're going to purchase a plane ticket to Las Vegas. And you're going to you're going to frequent the bunny ranches. I know that's what you're going to do. Don't sit there and act like no. I mean, okay, yeah, the Japan thing, that's a possibility, but it might take a little bit of work before you actually, like, get to your desired location. You show up there with money, you're like, hey, and they're like, okay, we understand. It's
also, I check out the Blue Man Group and Penn and Teller and... Man, Penn is a piece... Penn's the fat one, right? Yeah.
He's a piece of shit. He's a fucking scumbag. He tried to rip people off with a Kickstarter GoFundMe a couple years ago. He's a real piece of garbage. He seems scummy too. He seems like a scumbag. Yeah, Las Vegas isn't that great though. It's kind of weird. It's literally like, you ever saw the Super Mario Brothers movie?
Yeah.
You know, like how that city was just a city in the middle of a desert, and how King Koopa was like saying there's no more resources, it's just this city, and then outside of the city is desert. That's Las Vegas. Las Vegas, like, if you go up in a helicopter, I've never been up in a helicopter, but I have been to Vegas before. My friend Ray and I, in college, we just were curious and we drove there. And I remember, because it was like, that was the year where I had all my classes, basically, all my classes were done by Tuesday. I had all my classes on Monday and Tuesday, and he was like, you want to go to Las Vegas? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, I'll just drive. Gas money, and I'm like, okay. But seriously though, it makes no sense. Two broke college kids going to Las Vegas, but it's literally just a city in the middle of the desert. That's why when they say what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, because there's nothing around for miles. It's cool though. I actually like the way it looks during the day than at night. During the day, it looks pretty, I don't want to say crummy, but it kind of looks not that great. At night you have the lights and everything, and it's like, oh my god. But during the day it's kind of, eh. You know what it reminds me of? You've seen the movie Hostel, right?
Yeah.
You know, like how when they first meet those European girls, they look really, really gorgeous and they look really fine, and then when it gets towards the end, when they set him up and he goes to that factory and gets tortured, they all look kind of gross looking. That's basically what Las Vegas is. Like at nighttime, it looks like those European chicks when they first get to the hostel, and then during the day, it kind of looks like them at the end of the movie. I want to check out the Blue Man Group because, you know, it's whatever. Again, but I wouldn't go to Las Vegas. I've road tripped to a bunch of places that I wasn't a big fan of. Like I've come to the conclusion that all the places that I like are on this side of the country, other than Oregon. Oregon is beautiful, but everywhere else is like on this side of the coast. Like Northeast is really nice. It's just cold. Philly, I like Philly a lot, but you know, Philly is Philly. I'm not too sold on Florida. I don't think Florida's that great. I just really like the place that I'm at right now. I like this particular area, like just outside of New York. The people are interesting enough, so I like the area that I'm in. You know, I don't like California at all. That's just, ugh. And I couldn't live in the desert, so I'm not even going to bother with places like Arizona and all that stuff. And then the Midwest is the Midwest. It's I did like, why am I drawing a blank? New Orleans. New Orleans was nice. Although I went at a time where there was barely any people around and all that good stuff. But yeah, New Orleans is nice. So, anyway, Bernie or Hillary?
Bernie.
Like if you had to choose, you would choose Bernie?
Yeah.
I just feel bad for the guy. Because I'm almost positive, even if he, like I said before, even if he won, they're going to kill him. The stress is going to kill him within the year, and then it's going to be like, whatever. But you know, like how he was saying how he wants to like get affordable college for everyone, and everyone should be able to go to college and stuff like that. I don't understand how people going to college is a bad thing. I don't understand how a group of people, like a collective group of people, like America, can sit there and say, okay, you know, that guy who's sitting around who can, you know, become a better person by getting a degree, that's a bad idea. Like I don't understand the mentality. The mentality in this country is kind of fucked. There was that news story about the guy who was 53. He got into med school, and everyone's saying, "Oh my God, that's such bullshit. He's trying to cross it off his bucket list. That's why he's in med school." I'm like, dude, the nigga's 53. It's not like he was 73. The dude was 53 years old. He got into med school, and people are saying that's not right. Blah 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 blah. And I'm like, why wouldn't you just be excited that there's another doctor in the world, another medical practitioner in the world? Why would you get upset at what his age is? But the mentality here in this country is really fucked up. Like, giving people an education is not a bad thing. Educating people is not a bad thing. But, you know, of course, the people in power want you to be uneducated, so they want to spin it so that if another person gets educated, it's a detriment to you. Well, think about it, right? If there were more educated people in the world, you would have less dumbasses to deal with. Imagine that.
Yeah.
Less fucking idiots to deal with. So that way, when someone sees you, they don't run their mouth and say something idiotic. But you know what? The downside is that if they're smart enough, they can realize that they're being duped. But here's the thing, right? What do you think the likelihood? What do you think the likelihood of the next president being? I hate using this term, Democrat, because I hate parties. I would just vote an independent, but independents never win anything. But
yeah.
I think people need to stop looking at parties and just look at what they personally need and what the country personally needs, and then act accordingly. Because I feel like people, for the most part, right? It's like, okay, what if someone has a very liberal idea on how to fix this problem? If it makes sense, why don't you go with that solution? Or if someone has a conservative view on how to cut back on this, why wouldn't you go with that if it makes sense? I hate the party system because it's like everything we do has to be underneath a party label, and we can't do anything that meets you like halfway. It's ridiculous. Oh well. If Ann Coulter ran for president, would you vote for her?
No.
You wouldn't want to have a troll as a president? Because that's what she is, right? She's a troll.
We've discussed this.
Yeah, she's a total troll. Nothing that... See, that's why I like her so much, because nothing that comes out of her mouth, she doesn't mean a damn thing that comes out of her mouth. But she knows that it'll upset people, so she says it.
Yeah, I do. You got a finger. Finger and press it right here. Yay, you got it.
Doesn't matter anyway, because that magical word, filibuster.
Smarter.
Yeah.
You could filibuster anything. You know what's really sad? I feel like I'm going to end tonight's session.
The only ally Bernie would have in the Senate would be Elizabeth Warren.
I love Elizabeth
Maybe a
Warren.
couple others.
I love that woman. If that woman ever needs a man to use in her life, she could have me. I think she's incredible. I think she's incredible. I just love a passionate, well-spoken, intelligent woman. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking up her age now because I don't care that she's 65 years old. Age is nothing but age is a number. I don't care that she's 65. When she speaks, I listen. I love her. But like I was saying, I forgot what I was gonna say because I was gonna wrap it up because we've been talking for an hour. Let me check the time. Yeah, it's been an hour and 5 minutes. I was gonna say something profound and I can't remember what I was going to say. Let me see if I can remember it. I was gonna say this, right? I feel like the only way things are going to change is if something catastrophic happens, but then I've come to realize that people, no matter how bad things are, will still cling to their old habits. So even say some shit happened, the polar ice caps melted and we were underneath water, people would still behave the same way. If we survived, they would still behave the same way. Because I always liken myself, economically speaking, I always liken myself to be a communist or a socialist, someplace in that realm of thinking. Because again, we live on a planet with limited resources, right? This whole freedom to indulge, American freedom. We've seen what happens when we leave Americans with freedom. They end up fat and stupid and diseased and all kinds of shit because they just overdose on excess and overdose on freedom. Realistically speaking, we need to be more conservative with how we do things. We need to recycle, basic kindergarten shit that people can't lock down. Recycle, walk more, learn to ride a fucking bike, be more mindful of how much energy you use, look up alternative ways or figure out alternative ways to fossil fuels. Some people don't realize why fossil fuels are called fossil fuels. Did you know that?
Yeah, I believe that.
No, there are some people that don't realize. I'm like, why do you think they're called fossil fuels? And they're like, because they're in the ground. I'm like, damn it, you know what? That's close enough. Just get out of my fucking face. It's close enough. They're in the ground. There's some people that don't realize that. There's some people that don't realize that there's a limited amount of those motherfuckers that were on the planet, so fossil fuels would be limited. But, wind, and they're saying, but to wake up all that energy, then use less of it. Use less energy. What were people doing before we had electricity? They were surviving. But,
we live on a rock, not in an Atari game.
The
that just keeps going and going.
People really don't fucking understand it. They really don't. And I don't think they ever will. That's just how people are.
That's what I call the new flat Earth mentality, by the way.
Well, it's not new. I mean, that's been a mentality.
I mean, a new incarnation of flat Earth thinking is people who think we live on this infinite plane of existence. Like an Atari game.
Well, no. Here's the thing, right?
We'll never run out of shit.
Well, here's the thing. It's funny because I just finished reading the book, and it's funny because I'm going to quote the same line that Brandon Lee quoted in an interview. It's from the Sheltering Sky, and I don't know the exact quote, but it says something. It's something to this effect: because we don't know when we're going to die, we think of life as an inexhaustible well, right? And we never consider certain things like. How many times have we experienced an evening that was so crucial to our being that we couldn't imagine living without it? How many times have we lived a day that we thought was so defining of who we are? We think that it's infinite, but to be honest, when you look back at it, it's only like 20 or maybe even 10. So people, because everything is uncertain for them, they don't realize that everything is finite. They're under the belief system that because they don't know when they're going to die, they can live in excess. And I think it's beyond that. I think it's something that's become very. What's the word I'm looking for? It's become very universal because it's not linked to any particular belief system, religion, political view, etc. It's just apathy that's been eating people alive. I want to say for the past 50, 60 years, it's been getting worse and worse and worse. People don't care. Regardless of their background, regardless where they came from, whatever, they don't care. So they don't think about the generation after them. They just do what they do, and they think, well, I'm going to be dead, and it doesn't matter when I'm dead because I won't be here anymore, so let me use this up. You know what I mean? You're not thinking about the people that come after you. And the fucked up part about it is that a lot of these people have kids, and I'm like, you don't want to have a better Earth for your kid? Like parents, these are the people that have more powers and families that have more power to put their money into things, and they don't care. They're apathetic. Now, either they don't know how things work, which is really sad, or they know how things work and they just don't give a shit. So I feel like the reason why people are that way is because why wouldn't they be? And I don't think it's a new way of thinking. I think people have been thinking that way for a very long time. There are people that just want to live for the day as if tomorrow's not coming, and then tomorrow comes, and then one day tomorrow isn't going to come, but then you don't realize all the damage that you caused for people who are still going to be there. And that's sad. And I don't think there's any way of fixing that. Because you can't... It's really difficult because it's very difficult to unite people underneath anything. If only we had that whole Independence Day shit, or we had the end of Watchmen, but even then, I'm certain there are people who are so adamant about how they feel about certain things that it wouldn't work on them. Now, what do? Do you continue to let those people exist, or do you put them on an island? You round up all the stupid people, all the corrosive people, because you don't want to encourage murder, but you want to round up all the stupid people, put them on an island, right? And then
tell them they want a free trip somewhere.
You mean like in The Island, the movie, where they were like, oh, you won a lottery and you won a trip to the island, and then they were harvesting your organs for clones, or for people you were cloned and they were harvesting your organs. That Michael Bay movie.
Except without that last part, maybe.
Well, yeah, and then he ripped that movie off from the Clonus Project, which was, when you won, you got to go to this luxurious ranch, but that's when they took your organs out and gave them to someone else because you were a clone. No, you put them on an island and you let their family visit them, and then, but again, people are complex at the same time they're not complex. The basic simple things that you could get people to understand that's needed and say, hey, you want to eat every day? I want to eat every day. You want a roof over your head? I want a roof over my head. I don't want to be homeless. You don't want to be homeless. Just simple shit that you would be able to get a bunch of people under. And it's like, well, no, I want to eat caviar, and I want a house with 3 bathrooms. And then it becomes bullshit. And then that's how they're able to turn everyone against each other. So people aren't going to be able to unite under anything. The 60s was as close as we got to people actually uniting under shit, because people actually. People would march. You would have white people marching for black people and civil rights and not giving a fuck. You know what I mean? You'd have people occupying Woodstock and not giving a fuck. And people were I'm going to put a flower in a barrel of a gun and not give a fuck. Free love and not give a fuck. Nowadays, it's that'll never happen again. People are too afraid. People are afraid of everything. People weren't afraid of shit back then. And granted, the way that the world was, you didn't have to worry about too much. I mean, auto insurance was optional. College was affordable. You know how much college cost back then? For 4 years of college, you know how much it cost you?
How much?
$12,000. $12,000.
Adjusted for inflation, I mean...
Well, here's the thing, right? You were able to work at a gas station and pay your way through college without having to take out a loan. Because when I did my thesis project, my professor, he was like, yeah, back then I worked at a gas station and I got a degree, and then I went and I worked in a bookstore and I got a master's degree, and then from there I worked on my campus and then I got a PhD, and it was when it was all said and done, I was able to pay everything off. And then when I finally got my PhD and I was working at a university, I had maybe close to $4,000 in debt left. Now, by the time you get to become a professor with a PhD, you've got a shitload of debt. There were jobs available. You could do a lot of things back then. There isn't shit here now. It's people are really afraid, and what little comfort they have, they want to hold on to. And if they feel like upsetting someone who's giving them the comfort would result in them not having it anymore, they don't want to be involved. And they don't want anyone else to get that person upset, because they might just decide to take their comfort away because that other person upset them. So we live with a bunch of people that are fearful. It's so hilarious how much people are afraid of things. You remember the Bill Maher pizza analogy? And I'm really actually gonna end it after I'm done saying. You remember the Bill Maher pizza analogy where it's okay, we order a pizza, right? The pizza comes with 12 slices. 2 people take 10 slices.